Hey everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Transplant Strong Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today I am joined by Sarah. Sarah is a double lung and a liver transplant, so this is going to be a very interesting story. Hi Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Where are you calling from today?
I'm located near Atlanta, Georgia, so
Nice.
a bit far away from you right now.
Yeah. So it's always interesting hearing people from other countries and how their sort of transplant system is slightly different and things like that. So it's always good.
Yeah.
So, what led you to needing a double lung and a liver transplant?
So I was born with cystic fibrosis, which genetic condition that really affects all the systems of the body, but it's especially harsh on your lungs. And there's a small percentage I actually found out, I think it's like 3% of CF patients also have really severe liver involvement. So for me, growing up was a lot of sinus infections and lung infections, and you do these really heavy antibiotics to sort of beat that back. But the liver does not like doing all of those IV antibiotics or oral antibiotics, and so it really takes a beating. So in 2003, when I was 13, they started to notice on my blood work that my liver enzyme levels were not right. And by the time I want to say 20, I really started to have a distended belly and sort of like a distended belly. And they were like, yeah, that's like a lot of extra fluid accumulating on the body, really swollen legs. And I was still able to do what I needed to do, go to school, go to grad school, but I was having a really hard time. And so fast forward a few years of just steadily getting worse until 2019. And at that point, I was almost completely bedridden. I was carrying about 30 extra pounds of fluid on my body, and I'm 5'3". Um, so my real weight was actually somewhere around like 83 pounds. And so that was a lot on a smaller body to be carrying around.
Yeah.
And my lungs were not doing well because we couldn't finish courses of antibiotics because we'd have to stop for the liver. So my team in Atlanta was like, you're going to need a multi-organ transplant. You're going to need lungs and liver. And Duke University is better with multi-organ than Emory felt that they were at that time, my hospital in Atlanta. So they sent me there. And really, when they sent me, they were like, this is in your 5-year plan. Let's just get you on the books up there, but we don't think that you're going to need it just yet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I ended up going in July, end of July, to Duke for an evaluation. It's a 5-day evaluation, really intense testing, and they told me at the end that I was in my window,
Really?
um, which no one was expecting at all. I had
So,
only just, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, was that the first time that you'd heard any mentions of transplant, or was this something that, when you were diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, was this something that was mentioned, or?
When everyone with CF typically, that I mean, now there are medications like Trikafta, gene therapy that are helping a large percentage of CF patients, but a lot of people, it does end in lung transplant because the lungs just deteriorate so rapidly. So was it something I sort of knew? Um, yeah, I knew it was out there, but I really didn't think that it was something I was doing right away. I kind of had just, this was my life daily. And
Yeah.
so everything had become routine. I was having these stomach taps where they would go in and take off liters and liters of fluid once a week. And that was just a part of my life. And I was trying to to still live my life even with doing all of those things.
Yeah.
But to go in and find out that I needed a transplant and that I needed it that soon really shocked me. So that was end of July. August 31st, my mom and I moved up to an apartment near Duke, um, because Duke is located in North Carolina. So it's about 7 hours from my home.
Yeah.
My dad and my fiance stayed back at home. They had jobs and everything. And so it was just me and my mom up there. And about 2 weeks after the move, I got sick and went in the hospital, and they were like, you're not going to leave until you have your transplant.
Wow.
So it was all going, I think it was September 10th that I went in the hospital. So
Yeah.
in a few months, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to have it. Oh, I'm in my window. Oh, I've got to move. And then I was listed on October 1st, and I had my transplant on October 7th.
Oh, wow. So they
Yeah,
were, I mean, you were obviously in desperate need for it. But
right. Yeah,
it's
I didn't realize how bad it was.
when you talk about going about your daily routine and you're having the drainage done, everything like that, it always surprises me the resilience of how people with sort of chronic illness just we just get through. And it just becomes the
Yeah.
norm. Like it's just
Right. You can normalize anything, you
yeah,
know? And, I was walking around, I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. My fiance and I would walk out and people would be like, congratulations. We'd be like, okay, no, not pregnant. This
yeah,
is just a ton of fluid. But I really wasn't able to eat anything except for like broth or juice because like my body was so full, I couldn't take a deep breath because of all of
yeah,
that fluid. And it was really the liver and the pain from the liver and just um, falling asleep, sleeping all the time with my liver. I could be having a conversation with you right now and just fall asleep for 3 or 4 minutes in the middle of
yeah.
the conversation. Um, and that was something like I was looking for other people in the cystic fibrosis community to be like, hey, is anybody else having this problem? And now I know, okay, it's such a small percentage of people who do. But I was like, who else? Everyone wanted to talk about lung transplants, but I was like, my liver.
Yeah,
Someone out there has to know.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
I've
it,
connected with more people since.
yeah. I don't think people realize, and I don't think even I realized, like, and I had a liver disease growing up, but I don't think I realized how important and how much the liver actually does. And I know without lungs you can't function, but the liver is something that just does so much in the body that when that starts to give up, it really does mess up everything inside.
Yeah, your quality of life it just goes downhill so
Yeah.
quickly. And yeah, like I just remember there was a lot of pain, there was just having no energy, sleeping all the time, no appetite, and you just kind of slowly that becomes your life and
Mhm.
each day a little bit more is taken away from you, but it happens so slowly that you don't always notice it.
Yeah, yeah. So then you've had your transplants. How was the recovery for you? Because I can presume, and what kind of incision did they do to do the lungs and the liver? Did they do them both all at the same time, I'm presuming as well?
Yeah, and that was a cool thing. So, my blood was not clotting well. And they were
Yeah,
like, the way we're going to do this surgery is they're going to go in, the liver team is going to go in, and they're going to do, remove the liver and get that transplanted. And then the lung team will tap in. And I was like, well, how soon does that new liver start help? And they were like, immediately. They're like, as
yeah,
soon as we get it hooked up, it's going to start clotting better. So they did what they call a chevron incision for the liver. So it kind of is like, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Yeah. And I don't know how much of that is because they were also doing the lungs that affected how, the type of incision that they
yeah,
did. But so they removed the liver and then for the lungs, they did what they call like a clamshell incision. So it sort of goes just under the breast. And as they explained it, they're like, we open your rib cage up kind of like the hood of a car. And then they attached all of the, all, got one lung in and breathing, remove the second lung, get it in and breathing. And then they also do a Nissen wrap procedure. So it's like they sort of tie like, I'm going to get this wrong, like it's like the upper part of the stomach or the esophagus, something, but it prevents heartburn later
yeah,
on because they found out that if you have a lot of heartburn, that can eventually lead to rejection with the lungs. And so they try and do a lot of things all at once to, I don't know, give you longevity with these organs.
yeah,
So those were the two types of cuts. Recovery was really when I found out how sick I had been. Um, I had muscles that really had not been in use for so long, so I was really weak. And Duke, they are very serious about their PT, which I was glad. I wanted to get stronger.
yeah,
They have you waking up like when you wake up from surgery, within just a few hours, you will walk the
yeah,
hall. They get
yeah,
you right up and going. Um, And that was really difficult for me because you're pumped full of all of these steroids, all of
Mhm.
this anti-rejection medication, and the lungs really take a lot of anti-rejection meds. Um, so it's like intense hormones, like this chemical heat all through your body, and
Yeah,
they're like, okay, walk, and you're like, oh, there's they have like I had all of these chest tubes, like four or five. Sorry, I have my little dog.
that's
Like
okay.
four or five chest tubes on either side. I had chest tubes coming out of my stomach. I think I had 10 total tubes coming out of me.
Mad.
And within a few days, they get to like slowly move those away. Um, but the recovery was mainly, it was realizing how sick I'd become because suddenly I'm down to my real weight, which is
Mm.
83 pounds. And they're like, we've got to like bulk you up.
Yeah,
It's trying to do physical therapy. Um, and then I also, with my nutrition and being, I was hospitalized for 100 days and I developed a
100
really
days.
bad bed sore on my tailbone. And that in itself went down to the bone. And then I developed like a bone infection.
Yeah,
So then we're bringing on all of these medications for that as well. So it was a long time in the hospital. And it was really frustrating. There's a lot of setbacks. Like at one point, there was a little bit of fluid that got in the lungs, and then overnight, it just turned into a lot. So they had to go back in and they had to open me up again and clean that out. Um, the liver, for the most part, it just it just did its thing. Like
yeah,
like it did not cause me any grief. The lungs were a lot more hesitant to kind of like settle in. Um, but yeah, so I was in the hospital for 100 days. And then after that, we moved. I was able to go back to the apartment that we had in Durham. And then we started about 3 months of really intense pulmonary rehab. So you're lifting weights, you
yeah,
are, going on a track, you're going on the stationary bike, practicing balance because all of that's thrown off post
yeah,
transplant. Um, it was really intense, but it felt really good to do it. Like I felt like I was like really seeing myself come back to life. And
yeah,
that was a really cool thing to see.
yeah. And how was it going home? Actually, there's one thing I want to say is it's crazy. I didn't think about having two teams of surgeons come in, because
Yeah.
that's mad. And then the amount of people that must have been involved in that operation is crazy.
Yeah, every morning, like you wake up and I'm used to there being two or three doctors in the room. No, they've
Yeah,
got a CF team, they've got a pulmonary team, they've got the liver team, and then any other little thing that happens, like I developed diabetes because of steroids. So they had in a diabetic team.
yeah,
They were watching my kidney function. They brought like it was crowds of people at the foot
yeah,
of your bed, and you're just like, oh, hi. And it was really surreal to be at the center of all of that.
yeah,
Um, like I just like tell all these people like they're like, oh, you're so strong. I'm like, no, I had like a whole football team of people
yeah,
there with me running
yeah,
numbers, checking everything, and I'm really thankful to them.
yeah.
I'm really thankful for my family who was there too. I think a really strong support system is the best thing that can get you through.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So,
Uh,
yeah, and then that leads me on to what I was going to ask next was how did you feel after spending all that time in hospital and having the hiccups coming home? Because one, you're quite far away from your hospital, and like, was there any nerves? Was there any anxiety? Because like you say, you had this whole team that are looking after you, and then all of a sudden you get released back, and you're like,
right. It's like, oh no, how do I take care? Yeah.
yeah,
I was excited to get to leave. We had had that little bit of time, that 3 months where you're still doing a lot of clinic visits. So I kind of was getting that experience of like, okay, I'm at home for a few days and then I go in for a checkup.
uh,
But moving home it was exciting, but it was also there was a lot of fear. I think there's a really great hospital in Atlanta, Emory, and they were in communication with my team, but they're
yeah,
still about 25 minutes away. So I felt okay. I think the bigger thing about when I came home is I came home March 1st, 2020. So I inherited, as it was like, yeah, I got brand new lungs. I'm so excited. I'm going to be so careful with them. And then it was like worldwide respiratory.
yeah,
So I always say, like, I wonder what my experience would have been like outside of COVID. Um, but that was part of my experience. And I think I don't want to say it helped, but that first year, Duke is like, you do not go in crowds. You mask up everywhere. You wipe down your groceries. They really had me doing that ever since I had come home. So
Yeah,
we've been doing all the precautions that they were telling us to do. We'd already been doing that for the past 3 months.
yeah.
So I kind of felt like, in a way, I was like, well, this is really how my 2020 was going to look no matter what.
That's ex
Avoiding crowds, staying home,
That
Um,
was exactly my experience. Exactly the same. I had
really,
my transplant in 2019 and led into 2020, and yeah, so I didn't feel like I was really missing out. Like I suppose
right.
if everyone else was out doing stuff and you're at home recovering, you feel like you're missing out. But everyone was at home, everyone was
Yeah.
being extra cautious, so it was like actually really good for in that sense.
Yeah, it's a unique experience. And I want to think, my family has always been really good about um, trying to eliminate germs and
Mm,
not cross-infect things. But I felt like even more of my family paid attention because they knew I was coming home.
yeah,
And so I felt like everyone was sort of weirdly prepared when COVID hit to, like, yeah, do all the things.
yeah,
And I would say for me, I had heard someone, one of the social workers at the hospital, say, you're not going to feel normal when you go home, not this first year. And she told me, she was like, it's going to take a year and a half to 2 years before you feel like yourself. And you don't just feel like survival mode
yeah,
or like you are, getting over what happened to you. And I don't know if it's because I had multi organs or what, but it took me about 3 years.
yeah,
So I really feel like in the past 2.5 years, I'm learning what I can do with healthy lungs and a healthy
yeah,
liver. And I really feel like I've kind of come home to myself and who I was even before I got so drastically ill.
yeah,
And that's been really fun to see. I've started doing some personal training, so I'm lifting
yeah,
weights and I'm, you know, going to work out in the gym, 3 times a week. That is something I've never done in my entire life.
yeah.
Uh, I think I'm just more intentional about trying to do things that I thought I had already done for the last time, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's good. And I think a lot of people that once they've had some sort of transplant, well, I find gym one good, it's good for my mental health and obviously the physical health. So there's that two sides. And with the mental health side, like I find it's just so important to because that was with my recovery, like you say, it was sort of 3 years for you where you felt normal. For me, it was the first year was all about the physical recovery. And then when I felt that, the second year was like all the mental recovery. It was like when everything
That,
kind of hit. So I'd for you like you say you're in survival mode, your body's fighting, and then that calms down and then the brain kicks in and you're like, oh, what have I just been through? Like this is crazy.
no, that's funny that you meant because I feel like my situation was similar. It was that first year was all about what does the body need? What is it? Take my meds,
Yeah.
do all the things. The second year was, I feel like my life with chronic illness, with cystic fibrosis, things that had happened during my transplant, because there was a lot of trauma that came with that.
Mm,
My brain suddenly had this time to, like, process it.
yeah,
Before it was like I had to move from one thing to the next so quickly. And now suddenly that second year, all I had was time to kind of process it.
yeah,
And there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of sadness. Grief is a huge thing.
yeah,
I think grieving who you used to be, grieving who you could have been if this big thing didn't happen to you.
yeah,
Um, and, to me, it was a lot of kind of stewing on it for a while, I think. And finally, I was like, I'm not going to be able to figure this out on my own. And I did start speaking weekly with a therapist,
yeah,
and that helped me a ton. I'm still speaking with her once a week, and she has helped me see, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't have like a big career, and all I did was like survive this transplant. And she'll be like, whoa, wait, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't belittle that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's hard sometimes when you have chronic illness, you can't compare like your milestones to other people's. They're getting promoted, they're doing these big things in their careers, and sometimes I think there's some jealousy and some like wishful thinking. And I have to stop and be like, yeah, but it's not my timeline, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah.
and that there are milestones that I can achieve that other people are not going to realize.
Yeah, yeah, I totally relate to that, especially because like I'm 40 this year, and obviously it's like a milestone birthday, and people of the similar ages, like you say, they've got careers, they've got families, they've got their own house. But you got to remember, like you say, like some of my friends have never spent a day in hospital ever. Like,
Right. Yeah,
it's just not normal. So, when you've been fighting your life in survival mode and every day, when you're, like you say, when you were full of liquid and your liver's given up, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're literally thinking, how can I get through today? And then you get through that day. And then the next day, you're just thinking, how can I get through today? And it was like the realization after I had my liver transplant of like you said, when everything settles down and then you're like, oh, I can actually think about the future now. And then obviously you do get those
yeah,
thoughts because you're thinking about the future, you feel like you're behind. But the reality is like, um, you've just got that time, you've got your health, and that's the main thing.
right. Yeah, it's weird. It changes your relationships with people. I had someone else tell me during transplant, like transplant is not the cure for everything in your life. They were like, if you had problems in your family or problems in certain relationships, all of that is still going to be there. This
Yeah,
isn't the cure-all. But they were like, what it does give you is it gives you time to decide what relationships you want to work on or what passions you want to follow.
yeah,
She was like, you get time and then you get to decide what you do with that time. And I thought that was really important because I know a lot of people who are like, well, this is just going to be so much better once I get my transplant. And I'm like, like it can't fix all of your problems.
yeah,
It gives you time to fix problems, but it in itself is not the cure for everything. And I thought that that was important. I think that that helped me a lot too, um, as I was navigating changing relationships and um, stuff with my family and my friends, just realizing, okay, what's important to me? What do I want to keep going forward with the second chance? And what do I want to let go of?
yeah, yeah. You evaluate your time and your energy for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
The
So
more, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what are the plans? Do you have any plans? Are you back at work or
No, so right now I am working with or will be starting soon, working with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
nice.
Um, well, I say working with is volunteer, to try and help others, in the CF community. And I've also been volunteering with a CF podcast. It's a long
Yeah,
story, where they share a lot of and highlight a lot of stories of people who have had transplants and people in the CF community who are aging. Um, I've also been volunteering at a local arts center. And so I'm kind of getting to do things like that I'm really excited about.
yeah. That's
I'm
really,
engaged, so I'm a wedding one day.
yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
it's a
nice.
lot of things. I'm really getting to pick where I would like to spend my time.
Yeah, that all that work that you mentioned, like you say, it's volunteer work and it's all very, very important and like so beneficial to other people. So it's really nice that you give your time to do that. And is art something that you're into, have always been into, or is it just there was an art place that needed
Uh,
some help?
So I definitely I was a English and theater major
Uh,
in school. And so this art center, they just do a lot of like getting kids involved in the arts.
yeah,
And then having art shows and galleries, and they put on different events and fundraisers for the town. And I really enjoy just going there and just getting involved in different things that I can.
yeah,
Um, So yeah, arts is definitely important to me. I think writing is probably my biggest passion. And I've been taking some writing classes to work on using my writing to, maybe help others, who follow a similar path, make it a little softer for them along the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was that something when you, because you mentioned that you were looking for people that had liver problems as well, but was it something that you did sort of prior to transplant, was find transplant patients, or did you have a transplant, then seek out transplant patients?
Yeah, that's interesting. I really didn't before because
Yeah,
finding out about transplant, it just kind of
hit you,
it went
yeah,
so quick for me, which I know is not the norm. A lot of people have to wait. So I feel very blessed that is part of my story. But I knew some people in the CF community, but I feel like post-transplant, it has been so much more um, important to me to find others and to
yeah,
like I just finally realized like I have friends who don't have CF and they don't have health issues, and that's great. I love talking with them, but sometimes I need to talk about other things and just need someone to be like, oh, I know.
yeah,
And so that's good. And Duke also had a unofficial Facebook page like that was for people who had had a transplant, a lung transplant at Duke. There was unfortunately not one for liver transplants, but I did find a few people who had also had lung and liver transplants.
yeah,
So being able to connect to some people and be like, hey, do you get this weird side effect from your transplant meds? And they're like, oh, yeah. Like that's needed. Community in that area is something I didn't realize was important before.
yeah.
And post transplant, I'm like, oh, I absolutely need it.
Yeah, yeah, I found, I mean, doing these podcasts, I've just met so many people. And the reason I kind of started this was a little selfish reason of that I had so many questions that I wanted to ask people. So I kind of
Yeah.
inadvertently I got them onto a podcast and then asked my questions on a podcast.
But that's so
Um,
good
yeah,
too. Like because
yeah,
it people can come to your videos and get their
yeah,
questions answered. Because
yeah,
a lot of us have the same questions.
yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned your meds. Because you've had a double transplant, do you know if you take more anti-rejections than someone that's maybe just had just the liver, or and you mentioned as well like the lungs take a lot of anti-rejects meds. Is that just
Right.
to start off, or
So you are on a really high amount to start off, and then I think
yeah,
when you reach the 1 year mark, they kind of taper down.
yeah,
And I know that the way they described the Duke liver and lung teams is the lung team makes all the decisions, they really monitor everything. And then the liver team sort of like rides their coattails,
yeah,
so long as everything looks good, because I do believe that it is an increased dose from if I had just had a liver. But I also don't know if that's just because it's multi-organ, like, if I
yeah,
had liver and kidney, would it be the same? I
yeah,
just know for me, they were like, the lungs do take a lot. But I'm not sure what my dose would have been without it. And I take Invarsis, which is like a time release tacrolimus or tacrolimus.
yeah, tacrolimus,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. And so I take the Invarsis because my CF metabolism just eats it up. So I have to do the time release so that
yeah,
way it stays at the right number in my system.
yeah.
And right
Mm.
now I'm on 13 milligrams.
Okay, I'm on 9 milligrams of yeah, tacrolimus
Okay.
atrograph, so it's not a huge difference really.
Yeah. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that part of that is like as I get further out, it gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I asked recently to be reduced, and they kind of just said to me at the time, I've been moved to a different doctor now, so they might change things. But it was the surgeon that I was still seeing, and they said, because you're everything's working, why would you want to change it? But
Right.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I don't know why we would just want to go on as little as possible.
Right. We do the prednisone, the steroid.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that one to me, like, I was so happy. Like, now my maintenance dose. So for the rest of my life, I'll be on 5 milligrams.
yeah,
And I'm so much happier at 5 milligrams. Taking it at the higher doses, I was a beast. I was not
yeah.
myself. Like,
No,
eating everything, angry at everyone,
yeah.
the Incredible Hulk at all times.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
definitely changes you. That does. I got really bad sleep paralysis as well when I was taking those.
okay, so I have that now and then, and I've mentioned that at my transplant center, and they're like, nobody has that. So
Yeah.
I'm really curious about that
Yeah, I definitely
because I
did.
have had that.
And the weird thing is I'd never heard anything about sleep paralysis before. I'd never had it, and then I got it. I saw this demon that was sitting. It used to come up onto the windowsill and then sit on my chest. So I
Oh
googled
my
what
gosh.
it was, like sleep paralysis. And then the funny thing is, people have drawn like this image of the same person that I saw, which is really weird. I just don't know how people in separate dreams are seeing the same thing, and sleep paralysis just has this one little demon that everyone's kind of seeing. It's really weird.
Yeah, I didn't see anything, but I was awake and I was like, okay, like roll over, like get up out of bed, and I could not.
Nothing. Yeah.
And I would also have trouble like breathing at the same time, and it was really scary. And it happened to me. I think I'd had COVID, and then it happened a few weeks later, and I was like, could that be like a weird? They were wondering if it was like a side effect of having COVID, and I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know. But that's interesting that you kind of connect it with maybe like the prednisone.
Yeah, because it kind of stopped after that. And I do remember him saying that it would really mess up all your sleep. So,
Right.
yeah. And then, so you just mentioned you had COVID as well. Like, how was that? Because obviously you had a lung transplant, so then you must have been really panicking of trying to do your best to avoid it. Was there any sort of adverse effects, or was you okay?
Um, Surprisingly, I did okay.
Yeah.
I've actually had it, I think, 3 times now. I
No.
just had it this past Christmas. I managed to get it, and luckily, like I did okay with it. And then whenever I got it the first time, it was really scary. We had been vaccinated, I think like several months before, like my fiance and I, and we both got it. He actually did way worse than me.
Yeah.
Everyone was calling like, "Is there okay? Is there okay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was like, "Todd's not doing good." They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he'll be fine." I'm like, "No, he's actually doing really bad." Which was it's kind of funny now. He did fine after that, but yeah, everyone just expected that it would be really bad.
Yeah.
I'm real thankful that it wasn't. But yeah, obviously nothing I want to try again. And right now here in the US, our flu is really bad. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people being hospitalized and some deaths as well. So I'm kind of just trying to stay inside and not get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's understandable. Checked your health.
yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the big thing right now is just maintaining and getting to enjoy my new lungs and liver and everything that they've kind of the world that they've opened up for me.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating story, and it's great to see you doing well. And it's always nice to hear, people back to doing activities and out doing things they enjoy after a transplant. Um, yeah, because it's tough.
It is. Yeah, I think a lot of people can understand that it is physically tough, but I think not everyone understands about how mentally tough you have to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Um, and there's also this thing, once you have the transplant, you're always worried, well, what if something, what if something should go wrong? What if I should get sick again? And that's something that mentally takes time to be like, always be aware and be cautious, but also still try and live your life.
yeah,
And enjoy what you've got right now.
yeah. I think that's a great way to finish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
thank you. Well, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking your time to have a chat.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and for anyone watching, if you like this video, please go and subscribe to the channel, and you can go to the website www.transplant-strong. There's episodes there, all the podcasts there as well, and some merch. But thank you very much, Sarah. I'll speak to you soon.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.